You know who I can do without? I can do without the people in the video store.
Which ones?
All of them.
This is Massive Late Fee with Mike and Mark.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Massive Late Fee. I'm your host, Mark. With me, as always, is Mike. How you doing, Mike?
Not too bad. How about you?
Good, good. You know, I keep on all the audio commentaries. I keep saying that we'll see you on Tuesday, but what I really mean is I'll see you on Tuesday because these don't come out until Thursday.
That's correct.
So straight to the news today. First piece of news, I don't know if you've heard about this or not, but Disney, with all their live action things that they've been doing now, they're doing a live action adaptation of a Cruella de Vil movie. It looks like it's going to be tangentially related to 101 Dalmatians, but star Emma Stone as Cruella de Vil, which I can kind of see. But this project, I guess, from what I've been hearing, first began back in 2013, when her star wouldn't have been quite as big as it is now, and it's gone through several screenwriters. The first person to write on it was Eileen Brosh McKenna, who did The Devil Wears Prada. Then they got Kelly Marcel, who did 50 Shades of Grey, which is not a good sign. And then they did and then they got Jez Butterworth, who did Edge of Tomorrow, that Tom Cruise movie. And but they've got a director now because I guess they're fast tracking this project. The director of I, Tanya, Craig Gillespie, is going to direct the movie, and it's still going to star Emma Stone. I think they want to fast track it because she's got so many projects coming up, especially Zombieland 2. I assume she's kind of getting restless. Do you have any interest at all in seeing a Cruella de Vil movie?
None whatsoever. I hope it fails and bankrupts the studio.
Well, it's Disney, so I think that would be difficult to bankrupt them.
I hope it does.
But, God, how many billions of dollars they had to spend on the movie in order for it to bankrupt them? But, I am not super into all the live action remake things that Disney is doing. I saw The Jungle Book. It was, I'm not super excited for The Lion King live, quote unquote live action. It's computer generated graphics. They're not actual animals. But I'm not super excited for this either. Emma Stone certainly has big enough eyes to play a cartoon character, though.
That's the lady who was in Superbad, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. What I never bought at the end of Superbad is when she goes off with like Seth Rogen's character. She just looks like she couldn't have any less interest in him.
Yeah.
Like, it's all right. I'll fuck you. My friend likes your friend.
Oh, yes. And now she's won an Academy Award.
For Superbad?
No, for La La Land.
Oh, yeah, that looked dumb. I'm not going to see that.
That's like your motto of the show. That looks dumb. I'm not going to see it.
Yeah, and I never regret not seeing any of these movies either.
Oh, are you a fan? I don't even know. Are you a fan of the James Bond movies at all?
Not a lot. I mean, there's maybe like 3 or 4 good ones that I've seen. I liked the Casino Royale with Daniel Craig. That was okay.
Mm-hmm.
Goldeneye was pretty good. Tomorrow Never Dies was all right. Actually, I like Tomorrow Never Dies. Then every other one I've seen hasn't been that good. Though I did see like Goldfinger. I thought that was pretty okay.
They're doing. I think it's just going to be called Bond 25. It's the 25th film that they're making, but it'll be Daniel Craig's last turn as James Bond. He's been James Bond longer than anyone in the history, which is kind of crazy.
mean,
He hasn't done
like,
as many movies, but as far as years go,
yeah, that's what I figured because I don't think he's been in a ton of them, and it seems like they just take like forever to put one out now.
yeah, I think this will be his fourth, I believe. Casino Royale, Skyfall, that Quantum of
Spectre?
Solace. Oh yeah, it might be his fifth.
Yeah, I think it's
Spectre,
fifth.
Quantum of Solace, and in this one.
Oh yeah, Spectre.
But he our old friend Cary Fukunura is directing this movie. And people were talking about, I guess there were some rumors going around saying that because this is supposed to begin filming very soon, it's supposed to come out, I believe, next year. And there were some rumors going around, and that certain people weren't going to show up, other characters from the previous movies because this is supposed to kind of wrap up the story arc they started with Casino Royale. And Cary Fukunura, Fukunanga, he said, I don't know where all these rumors are coming from. The script's not even done yet, so they haven't even finished the script. I don't know this. I'm not a. I don't really get into the Bond movies. I've seen a few of
Yeah,
them.
I think they're archaic in the sense that it's like some like murderous like kind of sociopath going around, sleeping with women and killing people.
Right.
And I much prefer that to be an American than a British guy, like Jason Bourne.
Yeah, exactly. We invented the concept of womanizing and remorselessly killing people.
Yeah, I don't know about that, but I think we do it best, USA.
But yeah, I'm worried about that. It seems like they're really going to rush this in production. Danny Boyle was supposed to direct originally, and I guess he dropped out because he had a creative difference with Daniel Craig over who he wanted to be the main villain in the movie, and so he left.
Danny Boyle thought it should be good, and Daniel Craig differed.
That's probably it. Daniel Craig looks like a potato in a suit.
He looks like James Bond point.
They have different size suits for him. They have this one suit that he'll wear in the movies that is so tight that he can't even move at all in it. So if you see him just kind of like posing by a baccarat table or something like that, he's in that suit. And then if he has to do like any kind of walking, he's in a suit that's slightly fitted better. And then if he's got to do fighting, he's in like a suit that actually fits him.
That's dumb. So they're pointing out baccarat is a stupid game. Poker's way better.
Yeah, I've seen. I used to work in a casino, as you know. The people out there don't, but I did. And
Oh, they know.
and I've seen it played many times. It's terrible. But yeah,
How would that change a James Bond movie if his game of choice was different? Like, imagine if it was like blackjack that was his game.
yeah. I think baccarat is supposed to be like a sort of like an old British kind of like high
Yeah, like a
stakes game.
sophisticated kind of stupid game like that.
Yeah. Although at the casino, and I don't want
Be careful here.
I don't want letters, but
I know where you're going.
But this is just true. And I have a friend named Wee Win who's
Hold on, I'm going to leave the room for a few minutes. I'll come back right after you're done.
But anyway, it's mostly Asian people that play this game. That's all I'm gonna say. Remember when we were at Greektown Casino? Like this was years ago when it was still owned by the Native American tribe in Michigan.
Oh,
And-
Native American. That's not what you were calling them back then. Anyways, Dan Snyder, what were you saying?
There was this guy next to us. I think you were there for this. We were playing blackjack and there was this guy next to us and he lost a hand and he threw his cards in or whatever, and he said, "God damn Indians, what did we ever do to them?" with no iron, like he wasn't joking. No, with no irony, he said this.
No, I actually wasn't there for that. I thought you were going to talk about another incident because I was going to correct you because it was in the Casino Windsor.
Oh yeah, I know what you're talking
We were
about.
there late at night. We were playing Pai Gow poker. Then like this guy just kind of like out of the blue, as if he hadn't looked around all night, just suddenly looked around and goes, "Boy, there sure are a lot of Asians here." It's a weird comment to make.
Yeah.
I'm back now, by the way.
So speaking of Asians, an Asian will not host the Academy Awards because it will be Kevin Hart. Kevin Hart is hosting the 2019 Academy Awards. He says it's a great honor and everything. I don't know if he was their first choice. It seems like a lot of people don't want to do this gig anymore because I think you can really only kind of look bad doing it. It's very hard to look good hosting the Academy Awards.
I'm not really a big award show watcher, so I don't really even know who is it. Like Jimmy Kimmel or something posts this usually.
Oh, I think I think Jimmy Kimmel hosted it last year. Maybe I can't.
Craig Kilborn.
I can't remember. Wow, there's a blast from the past. Craig Kilborn and his 5 questions hosted it in 1998 nice. When he was, high on doing the Daily Show. But
he's a good host for the Academy Awards. They should get him.
I know Seth MacFarlane did it one year. Obviously, when we were growing up, it was like Billy Crystal and Robin Williams and Whoopi Goldberg did it a lot.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever once watched it all the way through. I'm not trying to be funny. The Academy Awards, that's like the Oscars? Is that the same thing?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Did you ever see that, the one that won last year, The Shape of Water?
Yeah, I saw that movie.
Yeah, it was on HBO like a few weeks ago, and I turned it on right when this lady's fucking a fish.
It was... Okay, this is what I'll say about The Shape of Water. I did not want it to win Best Picture. I didn't think it deserved to win Best Picture. I thought Get Out should have won Best Picture or Three Billboards. Either one of those movies I would have been fine with. But it was like a well-acted movie. It was a gorgeous movie. I like a lot of Guillermo del Toro's movies.
Yeah, I like him a lot too. I wanted to see this movie, but I never really went and saw it. And then I just turned it on right when they're like in this bathtub, and it's like such a weird, like out of place, like scene, to see that and nothing else.
Well, the thing is too, is it's out of place even if you watch the whole movie because they don't build to a romantic relationship. I mean, they build kind of a friendship, but yeah, it's weird, and I did not like it at all.
That's what. Weird.
Oh,
can imagine how the Oscar voters had a dilemma on their hands, though. Yeah, a movie that's a metaphor for the struggles of African Americans in the country, and a movie where a lady has sex with a fish. Which one? Which one you gonna pick, Mark?
Oh God, Get Out was so good.
Haven't seen it.
You should. It's a really good movie. But
yeah, I'm not going to.
No regrets.
Nope, I don't care for the Key and Peele show, and I assume it's just like that. So no.
Yeah, it's a laugh a minute. No, it's a very good serious film. But
I am getting quite the reel from your comments from this weekend, from the other day on the Kevin Smith one.
Right. Oh no, I'm
ready to run a political ad against you if you ever cross me.
I'm using my IBM computer, and I only use IBM computers because they helped the Nazis during World War II.
Is that why you drive a Ford?
Yeah, no, that's why I drive a Volkswagen. Where was Apple when the Nazis needed them?
Oh, I'm sure they would have helped.
I don't know why I'm feeding into this. I do not like this bit at all.
Oh, so now you're saying it's a bit, huh?
Oh my God. Oh. Anyway, so I'll just say you don't want to take a shower at my house, but so The other two pieces of news that I have today are concern TV, and I can almost guarantee how you're going to react to both of these. But one is apparently Netflix is going to get rid of Friends from their service on January 1st, and the internet is freaking out about it because apparently people still love Friends. Although alternately, I also hear that Friends is homophobic and racist and stuff like that too. But yeah,
It's right up your alley, then, huh?
people are upset that Friends is going off the air. Do you care about this at all?
No, I think I read something about it as well, and I couldn't care less.
But yeah, so
I mean, I've seen a lot of episodes of Friends. 'Cause I think it was on like right after or right before something I used to like The Simpsons. And it's just like a show that I don't understand why it's so popular. It's like the most bland, generic like sitcom you could ever conceive of.
yeah, my wife likes it a lot. I know a lot of
Well,
people.
let me backtrack.
No, no, but I know a lot of people that do like it. I never really got into it because I kind of agree with you. It's just it's comfort food. The show, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I can see. I mean, like I think I've read a lot about like when Futurama went off of Netflix. There are a lot of people complaining because apparently there's like a wide segment of the audience that like watches it as they fall asleep every night. Which I think I've heard the same thing about Friends. Which I guess I could kind of see if it's like familiar with, but I mean, just to me, it's not anything that I am interested in.
Yeah, I Futurama is so much better than Friends.
I would agree with you wholeheartedly there.
I know Matthew Perry listens to the show, so sorry, Matthew, but it's just kind of how I feel. Billy West doesn't listen to the show because of the story you told about him.
I could see that, but it was pretty funny.
But yeah, the other piece of news that I have is that the at least not all of them, but a large majority of the cast of The Office met for brunch, and I believe it was Jenna Fisher put a tweet up on Twitter with them saying, sorry that the people that couldn't be there, and that and she ended up saying, we'll see you soon. And so everyone now is freaking out saying, oh, they're going to do a Office reboot, which apparently everybody wants to see.
Yeah, I don't know. I gave up in The Office about 3 seasons deep or so. I think I've said this before. The Ed Helms, when he starts, that's about when it stops being funny anymore to me.
And here's the thing, I don't even know how they would do it. I mean, unless they did an actual reboot where they went back to the beginning again somehow, which I don't think they would do. The formula seems to be to take a show that was popular like Roseanne or Murphy Brown or whatever one of these, and bring the original cast back as a sort of continuation. And that's what I would imagine they would do with The Office if they were going to do something like that. But I don't know how they would do something like that because of the way The Office ends. Like, it's like Steve Carell, his character Michael moved to Colorado with his wife, and that's how he got written out of the show. What, does he come back to Scranton? Does he like try to take over again? I mean, I guess they could do it.
I don't know.
I guess they could do it if they really, worked on it. Although with as many different people as they brought in over the years, like Ed Helms and like like Ellie Kemper and some of the different people that they brought in, it seems like it would be pretty overstuffed, the cast.
Yeah, for sure.
But and I don't even know if like Steve Carell does a bunch of movies now. He's up for Oscar consideration sometimes. Jenna Fisher's got her own TV show that she's currently working on, splitting up together. I don't know what Ellie Kemper's up to right now. I know her.
Wasn't she in the Impossible Kimmy or something like that?
Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt, which
or is that canceled?
Yeah, that got canceled. I think that's on Netflix. You should watch that. You would like that show. It's weird and like kind of like off the wall crazy type show.
Yeah, I'm not gonna watch that.
But
What's his name? John Krasinski. I think he's in another like Jack Ryan type thing.
Yeah, and
I don't know if it just started or what.
and he directs movies. He directed Quiet Place, and and I think he's working on a sequel to that. I don't see how any of them would have time to put in any kind of work on something like this.
Maybe if it was like a like you remember how they used to do like they'd do like a very Brady movie or something like that. It'd be like a reunion.
Okay.
And like an episode, but it was like maybe an hour long. Did you ever see like the Brady Bunch movie?
Yeah.
Not the ones in theaters, but the movie.
Yeah, no, I know what you're talking about, like the Very Brady reunion and stuff like. Yeah, they used to do that all the time, where they would. That was the reboots of the '70s and '80s, I guess.
It was like a one-off because they couldn't really, sustain interest in a series, but like one episode would be like, oh, what are they up to?
Yep, exactly.
They did one for Growing Pains as well, I think, which is kind of funny now that what's his name, Kirk Cameron, is how he is.
Oh yeah.
Surprised it wasn't a sermon, the entire thing.
The best reunion that anyone's ever done is the Seinfeld reunion, the one on Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Oh yeah, I'm not a big Seinfeld fan, but that was hilarious. I mean, it was over a few episodes too, wasn't it?
Yeah, and that's the perfect that is the perfect like Larry David type way to do a reunion thing, where it's not really a reunion and it's kind of poking fun at the whole idea of reunion shows, but it also still kind of gives you a little bit of, what the characters might be up to now.
Yeah, I completely forgot about that. That for sure is like the best reunion type thing like that. I mean, George had like an app that showed you where all the best bathrooms were, I think, and then like it failed miserably.
No, Bernie Madoff stole all his money.
That's what it was. Yeah, you're right. And then there was a funny, like, not, out in and out of, scene thing with Michael Richards with his hat. And then he was yelling at JB Smoove loudly.
Yeah.
Who was dressed like a Nation of Islam person, even though he's supposed to be Jewish. But yeah, it was pretty good. How do you feel about them, Mark, on Hanukkah?
Happy Hanukkah, everyone.
Yeah, my 5-year-old told me yesterday that she wishes we could celebrate Hanukkah because she wants 8 days of presents.
Oh, right. I like the what's his name, the Lewis Black bit about that, where he said that when he was growing up, his Christian friends would be jealous of it, but he was like, it was 8 days of like the worst presents. He's like, oh, what's this, a pen set? Oh, you forgot to take the name of the bank off the bottom of it. What's this, a pair of socks? What's this, a yo-yo?
Yeah, I'm not super familiar with it. I know it's 8 days, and something about a dreidel. My youngest was trying to explain that to me, and I don't know. She was saying you could spin it and get chocolate, and it sounded like it was like the best holiday ever in her mind to her.
Yeah, well, that's I'm sure it's a very fun. I've never celebrated Hanukkah, and I've never been around a Hanukkah celebration, so I'm not sure about any of it really, and I wouldn't want to offend the Jewish people by anything, joke or otherwise, that we do on the show. And I know we haven't offended any Jewish people so far.
Yes,
so I want to keep our record clean on that.
Wait, did you just make that comment about the showers like 10 minutes ago?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay. I think we skipped a segment. What have you watched this week?
Oh yeah, in our very
very uncharacteristic rambling.
In our very professional, and I've been watching a lot too. Podcast. We forgot about what you're watching. Tell me.
Yeah, I got notes.
Okay. Oh, do you? Mike's come prepared this week. So what have you been watching this week?
Let's see. I've heard a lot, and this is a show that's been off the air for some time now, of the show called Leverage. Have you ever heard of such a thing?
Yeah, I think I haven't seen it, but I do believe I've heard of it.
Timothy Hutton is in it. I don't know what else this guy's from. Probably like other movies or something. He looks familiar. One of those guys,
Right.
So he's like he's a retired insurance investigator who like leads a team of thieves like to go and the very first episode, this guy kind of blackmails them and they get him back and they make so much money that they're just going to go around like a broke ass like A-team, fixing things for people.
Okay.
I'm a big fan of like heist movies and the genre in general, but as you are well aware, as our foray into the Hudson Hawk movie, I'm a real big fan of the minutia when it comes to heists and that kind of stuff. Like the movie Heat, I like quite a bit because they show them preparing for the heist. Point Break, same thing. You see them loading up, and it kind of is like very meticulous. The show Leverage is nothing like that. I do not care for the show at all.
Okay.
It's like the A-Team, if you were watching the A-Team right now and not when you were like a 10-year-old child. There's no nostalgia. There's no childlike sense of wonder. It's just like, this show is just ridiculous. There's like this guy who's like a karate expert or something.
Okay.
And there's like 10 guys who have guns on him, and then it like flashes and you hear all these gunshots, and when it comes back, he's beating every single one of them up.
Wow.
And he doesn't like guns. He can't talk about it. I'm sure he does later, but whatever. And then this lady who actually was engaged to Jason Lee at one point, like a blonde lady. She has like a kid with him, like Pilot Inspector Lee. That's her mom.
Oh, okay, yeah. I don't remember her name, but I am familiar with her.
But she's like the thief lady in that, and then so she like she can fit through like a hole that's like a fucking playing card size. It seems like it's just ridiculous. Like there's like grappling hooks everywhere, and that makes no sense to me either. There's this other lady who's like a terrible actress on stage, but put her in a con situation. She's, I don't know, Estelle Getty. That's probably not a good example.
Okay.
And there's this other guy. This guy, it was kind of funny. He's like a computer hacker, but do you remember the movie Die Hard with a Vengeance?
Yes.
One of Zeus's nephews. He was actually one of Zeus's nephews, like one of the little boys.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, he's in it too. And then I don't know. I think that's all the characters. It was recommended to me by a couple people who I'm like, oh, I like heist movies. You're like, oh, watch this, and I do not recommend this show. I mean, it's like a CSI type show, that you might watch. I'm like, oh, okay, it's something to watch, but it's not very interesting to me personally. Some other people might like it.
Gotcha. Well, I will not check that out then. I've got too much to watch anyway.
It's been off the air for a long time. It was on Amazon Prime though, much to my surprise.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I do have Amazon Prime. But I still won't watch it.
Watch Leverage.
So there are three things that I've watched. I've been watching a lot this week, but three things that I'll point out real quick. One is F is for Family, which the third season.
The great Bill Burr.
Yeah, Bill Burr's animated show. I've only watched the first couple episodes of the third season so far. So far, it's not as good as the first two seasons, but it's still pretty funny. The first two seasons, I think, are hilarious, and they really capture what it was like in the late 70s, early 80s, kind of growing up during that time. Just how kind of awful everything was. But that's a very funny show. The other thing that I've been watching is I watched a documentary called Game Over, which
what's that about?
It's about the rise and fall of Atari and kind of the video game crash of 1983.
Okay, I think I've heard about that. I imagine it features E.T. the video game quite prominently.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's the what initially seems like is going to be the B story is the effort to dig up the landfill where it was rumored and legend and everything that that they had buried hundreds of thousands of copies of unsold ET cartridges and everything.
Yeah, I've always heard that when I was younger.
And that turns out to be really the main story. And they've got like a bunch of people, like celebrities and stuff that come to view this. Like a bunch of people came to view it when they did this.
Like what celebrities?
Well,
like the kind of celebrities you see when you see a show with the word celebrity in the title?
Yes, exactly. They got Ernest Cline, who wrote Ready Player One, the book.
Okay. Yeah, I've heard the name.
And I saw Ready Player One, and I read a little bit of the book. I couldn't finish the book. Sorry, Ernest Cline. But the book is just. I did a video about. I used to do these videos called deleted chapters from famous novels, and I did Ready Player One, where it's basically I'm just doing a parody of what the book is like, and in that parody, all I did was for about 2.5 minutes, do as many pop culture references as I could possibly think of.
Yeah, that's what it looks like to me. I've never seen the movie and I haven't read the book, and I'm not going to do either. But yeah, that's kind of what it seems like to me.
The movie's not as bad as far as the pop culture references go as the book is. But seeing Ernest Cline interviewed, that's just how this guy thinks and talks. Just doing it in an interview, like in a 30-second interview, I counted, I don't remember exactly how many it was, but I think he made 10 or 15 pop culture references.
Was it like hanging out with Seth MacFarlane?
Yeah, I think it was. I think it was a bit like that. But yeah, like it's just insane. So he comes there. He gets a DeLorean to drive there.
Of course, he's got a DeLorean. Where else would he drive?
So he gets a DeLorean to drive to New Mexico, the New Mexico desert, to see this landfill being dug up, which has got to be just the saddest thing I've ever heard of in my life. Just a bunch of people gathering around to watch a landfill get dug up, just in the hopes that they could see, some busted, moldy ET cartridges.
Yeah, what are they going to do if they find them? I don't understand the purpose of this.
I don't either. But
was this Ernest Cline guy the biggest celebrity?
He was probably the biggest celebrity in the movie.
Oh no! Can I get some other names? Did they have the kid who wore the power glove in the movie The Wizard?
They yeah, I think they did actually. And the power
was Will Wheaton there? I would imagine he would be there.
Oh, I didn't see. No, they didn't. They didn't mention Will Wheaton. But so all these people, and like regular people too. Well, I use regular loosely, but non-celebrities.
Not big time celebrities like Ernest Cline.
Right. They've all gathered here too. And I didn't really like the documentary that much, honestly, because it's called Game Over and like subtitled The Rise and Fall of Atari. And I was really interested to hear about kind of like how Atari got founded, like the inner workings of the company and stuff like that. And then the different factors that kind of led to their downfall in 1983. And the video game industry as a whole had a huge downfall in 1983. And they go about halfway. They do a decent job explaining like how Atari kind of rose to prominence, and what their corporate structure was like and everything. They were very much kind of like how people view Google and stuff now, although with more drugs and alcohol, because they, there was a big party atmosphere and everything with these engineers and game developers and stuff like that. And that kind of stuff was interesting. But then they just kind of go like, this guy, he designed E.T. and he only had like 5 weeks to do it because they wanted to rush it out before Christmas. And it took Steven Spielberg a long time to agree to give them the rights to E.T. And then it wasn't enough time to develop a good game. And he had a decent idea and he shouldn't get blamed for it. And then E.T. was like a failure. And then the company just went under, but it wasn't because, but it wasn't because of E.T. And they like really rushed through that so they can focus a lot on this excavation thing. And I'm like, I don't care about the excavation. I want to hear about like the company stuff, like what happened.
Can you think of any of the other celebrities who was at this thing?
I think Dave Coulier was there.
Oh, come on, man, cut it out.
There's on the Weekly Planet, which I know I've mentioned a couple times, another podcast that if you listen to them, you should listen to us, but not necessarily vice versa. We want you listening to us. That's the point. But anyway, they used to have this segment called Dave Coulier, where people wrote in about encounters that they'd had with Dave Coulier where he was an asshole to them.
What?
Yeah, it was great. Because the first story that they
sorry, I gotta hear this.
The first story that they had was someone listened to Bob Saget's stand up, right? Great. And he was talking about how Gosh, I wish I'll tell the story next week because I have to listen to it again to exactly remember how it goes. But I remember the latest one I heard. So the one I can remember, and I'll listen to. I'll steal their content and use it as our own. I don't care.
Maybe, yeah, okay. I said maybe ask, but what?
But well, I'm giving credit. It's from their show. But
We already can't be played in Germany, so might as well alienate everyone else.
right. But anyway, so I'll tell you the one that I remember like pretty well. I think it was the last one that I heard. There was this guy who made balloon animals on the street for kids and stuff like that. And I think this is a line from Die Hard or a movie like that. But this guy comes up on the street and he goes, "Hey clown, make me a dog," or something like that. And the writer like says, "I'm not dressed as a clown when I do this." And he says, "Ha ha ha, we've all seen Die Hard," or whatever it was, right?
Yeah, it's not Die Hard, but I don't know what it is.
And the guy that shouted at him goes, "What an asshole," and just walks away. And he goes, "One of the people in the audience informed me that the guy that shouted at me was Dave Coulier."
See, I don't know. First of all, who trusts a balloon artist? I mean, let's be honest here.
That's true. They are noticeably shifty.
Yeah, I don't know. I would say I met Dave Coulier, but I really didn't. I was like 5 feet away from him at a comedy show.
Okay.
Starring Dave.
Uh,
And he's very small. He's a very small man, which I didn't expect.
Okay.
Big in heart, though. Big in heart. And cruelty, apparently.
Do you think that he's really an asshole?
I mean, I wouldn't be shocked just because he's been famous for like 30 years. Probably has a lot of money tucked away. He's probably just been shit on by every like comedian, for the last 30 years.
It's funny because outside of this one podcast, and I mean, they're not coming up with this stuff. People sent them. What the way it happened was someone sent in a story about Dave Coulier, and they kind of, while they were riffing, they came up with the name Dave Coulier for the segment, and they basically just said, "Hey, if anyone has any stories about Dave Coulier being a jerk, send them in to us." And they only got 5. He's only been featured on the show 5 times. So I don't know. I mean, like, being out there in the world, like everyone has bad days and stuff like that. To only get 5 stories, I don't know. Maybe he's not that much of a jerk.
I would pay so much to have Dave Coulier call me an asshole. Were any of these stories from an Alanis M, by the way?
No, but it's I was like kind of. Because I thought maybe at some point we should do a segment as one of our regular segments of like celebrity horror stories, and I was looking for other Dave Coulier ones, but I couldn't find any outside this podcast, the podcast I was talking about. But I did find some stuff about Alanis Morissette though, where he says he doesn't really think that that's him, even though they did date.
Yeah, I think she said it was the big age difference is mostly what she's referencing, or like she did call him during dinner or something.
Yeah, like apparently it's an amalgamation.
I do like to think the going down thing was with him because that's just a hilarious image. Someone looks at him, "Go away, asshole."
Well, him watching a movie and he didn't really ask for this, but she just was in the mood or whatever, and he's like, "Alanis, I'm trying to watch the movie. Cut it out."
Yeah, that's always what I think of. Like, then he's like, "What are you doing, Alanis?" She's like, "I don't know." And then slime just falls in. I like to think that in the mini worlds theory, where everything that's possible to happen has happened, that has happened somewhere.
that someone just follows her around with a bucket of slime from You Can't Do That on Television. Oh, that's great.
Yeah, I'd like that.
The other thing that I've been watching.
Wait, I'm sorry. Quick question.
Yeah.
Did you ever play that E.T. video game?
Yes, I have.
That was the worst video game ever. It was so bad.
It's terrible.
I don't even know what's supposed to be happening in the game.
That's part of the problem. And here's the thing: when the guy that on the one of the things that's kind of interesting about the documentary is the guy sort of explains what his thought process was for the story behind the game. It's good and ambitious, but way too ambitious for the technology they had at the time. He wanted this like big open world type thing with kind of like mirroring the story from the movie a little bit, and it was too ambitious for what the Atari 2600 could do.
Oh, by the way, I looked it up real quick. You know who else is in the movie? And I'm surprised you just glanced right over this one.
What?
George R. Martin.
Oh yeah, that's right. George R. R. Martin's in the
Big
movie.
bushy beard.
Oh, yep, he's in the movie too.
He lives in New Mexico. He lives in New Mexico, actually.
Yeah,
And it's not like he's got anything better to do than watch some guy dig up fucking Atari cartridges.
I think it's his DeLorean that, or no, I can't remember who he gets the DeLorean from, but yeah, he gets this giant ET stuffed doll and puts it in the passenger seat because, of course, Ernest Cline's driving alone.
Maybe this doll will love my references.
Oh my god, I'm so glad that.
Hey, it's like Wicked at Birdies.
Could you imagine driving across the country with Ernest Cline?
No, I couldn't.
I think I'd want to blow my brains out.
And then when you'd be like, oh, Bud Dwyer.
Oh my god.
Yeah, that doesn't sound appealing. I'm sorry. What was the other thing you watched?
So the last thing I watched is something that's available on YouTube. It's called Kung Fury. It's a movie that was made, I believe, in 2015 by a studio called Laser Unicorns. Now, this is one of those. Those rare things where someone's tried to make a terrible movie, but so terrible that it's funny, which usually doesn't work out very well because usually one of the things that makes it funny is the honest attempt to make a good movie and just the failing at that. But I have
the real sense of disappointment is really what just makes you chuckle.
But I have to say that this movie is pretty good. It takes place in 1985 in Miami, and it's one of those things where the future is hyper realistically violent. Like a lot of those 80s movies where there's basically just roving gangs on the streets at all times trying to kill people. And this cop car pulls up to a group of kids on skateboards, and he's like, "Hey, what are you guys doing?" And the guy puts his skateboard underneath the cop car, and then hits the kickflip thing, and the cop car just goes flying like 1,000 feet into the air. I mean, it's and this is at the very beginning of the movie, so it's super over the top like this, and this one guy used to be a cop, and his partner got killed, and somehow he got struck by lightning and imbued with this the best kung fu force in the world, and he becomes like a vigilante, basically trying to keep the streets clean. At the beginning of the movie, there's an arcade game that comes to life and starts like shooting people and killing things. It's a crazy, like, off the wall kind of movie, but it's very humorous, and I think they've done a good job in satirizing those kind of movies. At one point, it becomes animated, like the old movies. Hitler's in it as well, and
now I see why you like the movie.
And there's I don't even know why I mentioned it.
I think we know why.
Oh my god. Okay. Well, speaking of killing and hyper-violence, we should get on to the main topic of our show tonight, which is the film The Ballad of Buster Scruggs, which is available on Netflix and is the new Joel and Ethan Coen film. Mike, what did you think of the Ballad of Buster Scruggs?
Well, I liked it. I didn't think it was like the greatest movie I've ever seen, especially when you compare it to other Coen Brothers movies. I thought overall it was kind of it was like the same story being told. It was almost like if you had an album entirely with one song being covered in different styles by different artists. That's kind of how it felt to me.
That's an interesting
How
way to
about
look
you?
at it. I liked it more than you did. I think for people that don't know or haven't seen it yet, because this will like I probably after this we'll kind of get into spoilers, but it's a movie consists of six different stories. That don't cross over in any way. They don't have the same characters. I don't even really think they use the same locations as far as cities or anything. They all take place in the Southwest United States during what would be considered the frontier days, like the Wild West, as it were. But other than that, they have some themes in common, but they don't share characters in any way. So if you want to check it out, I think it's worth checking out, especially on Netflix, where it's easy to see and it's free. Yeah, I think I enjoyed it more than you did. I liked it quite a bit. I wouldn't put it up there with, say, Fargo, or even like Raising Arizona, which is one of kind of one of my favorites that they do, or Blood Simple. I wouldn't quite put it in that echelon of films that they've done, but I think I think it's probably in their top 10, which is hard to crack into when you're talking about the Coen brothers who
Oh
do.
yeah, it's a quite the body of work.
Yeah, absolutely. And they've made maybe five or six basically perfect movies in their career. Certainly more than almost any director I can think of. At some point, maybe we should do a Coen Brothers film breakdown.
Yeah, I was thinking about going back and just watching all their movies because I haven't seen every single one of their movies, but
Mhm.
every one I've seen I've liked. Even like Intolerable Cruelty, that's a really good movie. I didn't think it would be. I just happened to watch it and it was really good.
Yep, yeah, that's one I like too. That's one that's a little divisive amongst Coen Brothers fans. I think there are some people that put it like towards that still say it's a decent movie, but they put it towards the bottom, and then there are other people that like it a lot more. I like Intolerable Cruelty. I think more than most people do.
See, I'm actually not a big fan of the one that everyone seems like. Shit, what's the name of it? The one with Jeff Daniels.
True Grit. Oh, you talking about The Big Lebowski?
Yeah, yeah, The Big Lebowski. I'm not a huge fan of The Big Lebowski.
I like The Big Lebowski. I don't love The Big Lebowski. There are people that will quote that movie ad nauseum. There are people that have seen that movie 100 times, and I don't get into it like that. I watched it and I said to myself, so it's kind of weird, and everything. Obviously, it's a little surrealist, and stuff. But when I watched the movie, I was like, yeah, that's a funny movie. It was pretty good, and that's like that's kind of how I feel about it. I didn't get into it like a lot of people seem to.
Yeah, it's just I don't know. It's okay. It's not bad by any stretch, but it's not something I ever really would seek out to go watch.
Yeah, I think it's a good movie, but it's not like you said. It's not one that I would relish watching a bunch of times or anything like that. I think Fargo is I think Fargo is maybe it might be my favorite movie of the. It's an excellent film. Um,
Yeah, I like Fargo, but I think actually, and this is going to be a shocker, the accents really put me off the first time I watched it.
right.
But there's amazing acting. Steve Buscemi is like great in that.
Yep.
William H Macy, correct?
Yeah, that's
he
right.
has to call himself that because of the Bill Macy guy who was on the Mary Tyler Moore show.
Correct. Yep.
Yeah, which I don't know, whatever. I really like the Fargo series. I don't think they directly like directed or wrote it or anything. That's really good. My favorite by them that I've seen, I haven't seen like Miller's Crossing or anything like that, which I hear is really good.
Hmm.
And Blood Simple as well. I haven't seen that. My favorite that I've seen by them is probably No Country for Old Men. I really, really enjoy that movie.
And that's one I haven't seen that I need to see. That's why
Uh,
I think it would be a good idea for us to do that at some point in the future, a Coen Brothers thing, because then I could go through and watch a lot of the ones I haven't watched too.
See, No Country for Old Men is the second, and I think they might be the only people who've ever directed any adaptation of a Cormac McCarthy.
Yeah.
They did All the Pretty Horses as well, which I haven't read. That's not true. The Road was also made into a movie that they didn't do, but I think it's just those three.
Yeah, I believe All the Pretty Horses, No Country for Old Men, The Road, and I don't think like no one's ever done Blood Meridian and that would be tough to turn into a movie anyway. But
Yeah.
yeah, I've read The Road and I've read Blood Meridian and All the Pretty Horses and a couple other Cormac McCarthy novels. But yeah, I haven't seen that, and I haven't read the book either.
So that's a shame because there's a lot of you can't really say they influence themselves, but you could watch No Country for Old Men, and then you could watch the Ballad of Buster Scruggs, and there's a lot of similarities, obviously, with like the theme of you're in the Southwest. I would almost say do you want to go into the movie now, like the different chapters and that sort of thing?
Yeah, spoiler alert. What's your favorite story of the stories?
So I like the first one and the last one.
Me too. Me too. And I've been telling my wife that because we watched it. I watched the movie first, and then we watched it together. And I've been telling everybody that my favorites are the first story and the last story.
Yeah, the first one is speaking of Cormac McCarthy. If Cormac McCarthy ever did a cartoon, that would be that cartoon.
Yep.
Speaking of, the whole first segment it's like I've never seen a better adaptation of a cartoon to live action. I mean, everything about it is very cartoonish. I mean, the horse, responds. The horse is named Dan.
Yep.
I mean, the guy just kind of waltzes around, does impossible acts of violence. He's shot in the head, and he just is able to see that he was shot in the head before he dies. You see his angel flapping away.
Yep, absolutely. It is completely a cartoon on screen, and yeah, and he talks to the camera. It's clearly the most humorous one. He kills a guy in a very he kills a guy by hitting the table and having him shoot himself.
He kicks the board, yeah,
and then sings a song about it.
Yeah, then instantly he's singing a song to the proper melody, and people are clapping at the right spots and that sort of thing.
Yeah, it's that one is it's definitely a hell of a way to start the movie, and yeah, I enjoyed that one a lot. That I think that's a great way to it gets obviously I think one of the big themes or the biggest theme that runs through all these movies is death.
Yeah, the movie is just despair. There's no. It's again very Cormac McCarthyian, where it's in the sense that everything's bad. Eventually, everything goes to ruin. There's no pure eternal joy out.
Yeah, and it's very nihilistic.
Yeah, it's for sure is. I mean, that's why I said earlier, each one's just a different. It's the same theme, beating a drum throughout the entire thing.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you're the best killer in the whole world, you're still going to be having someone coming after you and taking you out.
Yeah, and but I do think that there's some points of hope in the movie. For instance, Buster Scruggs, like you said, after he gets shot because he's someone's proven themselves to be a quicker gun than he is. He floats away. His angel or his soul or whatever floats away, and he says that he hopes he's going to some place where men aren't so cruel as they are here on Earth.
Yeah, after he shot 4 men and a bartender for not giving them a drink.
Yeah, he does. He's a very contradictory character, and I'll tell you what, I would watch a prequel movie that's just about his adventures before we see him here. Yeah, I just want to point out a couple things real quick too, or before we talk about the rest. The cinematography of this movie is the most amazing thing I've ever seen. It's completely gorgeous movie to look at. It's fantastic.
I mean, I put it on par with the movie Last Days by Gus Zant, which also had these amazing scenes, and the camera work is. It's just, I know they put it in the theaters briefly. I really hope it's nominated because just looking at the movie, you could just look at it with the sound off, and it's just a gorgeous movie to look at.
It is, and obviously it's aided a little bit by the scenery that they have to shoot with, these epic and just gorgeous western vistas. But even in some of the middle the middle movies or the middle stories, like especially the one Meal Ticket, where there's a lot of shadow because it's a performance and he's on a stage, and there's a lot of shadow, there's a lot of contrast. The cinematography in that is just outstanding. I agree with you, and I think it probably will get nominated for cinematography. It was Bruno D'Abonel who did the cinematography for this, and he's worked with the Coen Brothers before in in some different movies. He did a couple of Harry Potter movies too, I believe. But yeah, he's worked with the Coen Brothers since I think Inside Llewellyn Davis, or maybe even a little bit before that.
Yeah, that was just amazing. Another thing that like the dialogue is just fantastic as well. I mean, you have these cowboy good for nothing characters like speaking very eloquently. They use lots of multi-syllable words, which you typically wouldn't see in the the Western genre, where they're like quiet men with fast guns seems to be the predominant theme. This one is just like like the character Buster Scruggs is like a raconteur, and like you said, you could just watch him go around just shooting people and talking it up for a full. You said a full length movie. I think I could maybe go about half an hour, but yeah, it's a really compelling character to watch, and throughout the entire movie, especially in the meal ticket segment. I mean, that's on display here.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, the meal ticket, the dialogue's interesting in that. The second one is the one with James Franco, where
Near Algodones, I think. I don't know how to pronounce it. That's how it looks. Title.
yeah, and he's a bank robber with Stephen Root, who is outstanding in the small little part that he has as the banker. He is great.
Yeah, Stephen Root is always amazing, and I actually didn't recognize it was him until I heard the voice. I'm like, oh, that's clearly Stephen Root, and yeah, sure enough.
But he tries to warn James Franco about the fact that people have tried to rob the bank before but never been successful with it, and Franco still tries to rob the bank and gets caught. Now he ends up getting away because there's a Native American attack on the people that are going to hang him.
Yeah. What happens is he basically Stephen Root covers himself with pans, and whenever he gets shot, he yells "pan shot," which is ridiculous.
Right, and also I think probably a movie making reference that they're making.
Yeah, I wouldn't be shocked. I just don't know it myself. But then he eventually catches up with James Franco and knocks him out with a rifle.
Yep.
Then when James Franco wakes up, he's on a horse with a rope around his.
Yeah, because they've had the trial already.
Yeah, he just doesn't remember it, but they assure him that it was a very fair trial.
Right. But yeah, so then he ends up getting away. It's funny too because the that bank, it says I can't remember, like you said, I can't remember exactly the name, but I've been through that town, which is in New Mexico.
Oh, that's weird.
Well, yeah, which is interesting. But anyway,
were you looking for copies of ET?
No. But anyway, so yeah, he ends up getting away, and he this guy that's running cattle notices him, shoots him down from the noose, and then he gets caught because that guy apparently stole that cattle, and he just gets hanged anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. Another downer. Life is a series of downers.
And I like it seems to me that kind of what they're saying is that that it's fate, that once he decided to rob this bank, he was fated to die, and that was how it was going to be no matter what. Even though he's being killed for a crime he didn't commit, it's still a just sentence because he should have hanged anyway. And I guess
I guess if you consider bank robbery, he did attempt to kill him, although it wasn't successful.
Right. Yeah, I'm not saying that necessarily you should get killed for bank robbery, now, but that was the law then.
Oh yeah,
But
sure, but yeah, it's like you said, like you can't really escape, fate. I mean, I guess that could be a theme, or just like even when you're lucky, you're still destined to just be brutally and mercilessly killed.
right. And yeah, a lot of these stories are about the brutality of the people that settled, this part of the country back then too. I would say that the bright spot in this one is clearly when he sees the girl before he gets hanged. When he says, there's a pretty girl.
Yeah,
And I can almost see, and it's a pretty good performance by James Franco, who is hit or miss, in my opinion. But when he says that, you can almost see in his eyes the thought process of a life that could have been, had he made different choices.
sure.
So I think that's maybe a little bit of the bright spot in that one.
Yeah, I thought this segment was okay. Like you said, Stephen Root's a bright spot. He's always fun to see. It's kind of short. What was it, like 10, 15 minutes? I mean, it's just, a pretty complete story told in that period of time, but just, it was a.
Yeah, I think some of these, I think a couple of them, in my opinion, could probably be expanded to like feature length of their own. Not that I would necessarily want that, but I think that there's enough story there that they could be. But I think the part of the pluses, part of the goodness of each one of these stories is that they're not overly long, that they kind of tell their story, they get in and get out as far as telling the story goes.
Yeah, yeah, you're right. Do you want to go on to the next one? Is that
That's Meal Ticket.
the meal ticket?
Yep.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
This one, I think, this is not necessarily my favorite one, but this might be the best one. Like the objectively best one as far as the performances go, the cinematography goes, just kind of the whole mood of everything. It stars Liam Neeson and
As a greengrocer.
right. I've been. What's he say? I've been Zeus. What's his name?
Schindler.
Yeah. No one's gonna believe me. Why don't you use a different accent? Lots of people do that.
Sorry, we're referencing a hilarious clip of Liam Neeson doing some improv.
Right. Yeah. If you look for, I don't even know if it's available on the internet anymore. But if you look for Liam Neeson improv, you should find it. But so it stars Liam Neeson and Harry Melling, who fans of Harry Potter will know as Dudley Dursley, the little fat kid, I think, and he is, he's definitely a much more attractive. He's become an attractive young man.
Diabetes has caused his limbs to be removed in this one.
Is that what it is?
I don't know.
Okay. But anyway, so yeah, he has no arms and no legs, and Liam Neeson is a impresario, and he the this guy who's not named is just his talent. And what he does is he sets up the theater and everything, and he starts out by reading Percy Shelley's poem Ozymandias, which was the Greek name for Ramses. And Shelley, a little background: Shelley wrote this poem. Actually, Shelley and oh, I can't remember who the other person was, but
Lord Byron?
it might have been. Yeah, yes. They were friends, and they both wrote poems on when the Egyptian antiquities were being displayed in London. So they wrote two different poems based on that. And Shelley's was Ozymandias, which, as fans of The Watchmen know, is where they get that name from. But
And Breaking Bad fans as well are familiar with the poem.
Yep,
There was a really
that's right.
amazing trailer for the last season that had Bryan Cranston just reading it as you see bleak scenes of here we go again in the desert, like in this film.
yeah, and there's an episode called Ozymandias too, in that last season. But
The penultimate episode, some would say.
yep, that's true. People who know what that word means might say that.
I read it somewhere on the internet.
But anyway, so he reads. He starts out with Ozymandias. He reads Cain and Abel. I think the ending one is the Gettysburg Address. There's some Shakespeare stuff in there, and so he gives this very eloquent performance, and it's the only time he speaks during the entire during the entire segment, and that's part of what I think makes this one so good. Is a lot of the acting that Harry Melling does is all on his face, and it's outstanding. You can see all of his emotions, everything that he's thinking, all on his face. And Liam Neeson doesn't do a whole ton of talking either. And his performance also is great. On his face as well. But basically, what happens is at the beginning, they're collecting a lot of money. It's pretty good. The money starts going down as they travel around to different areas, and they get fewer and fewer dollars from people. And after one of the performances, and the other thing too is, and it's somewhat subtle, but certainly noticeable by people. Liam Neeson has to do everything for this guy. He has to, yeah.
Clearly, the other guy doesn't have arms or legs, so Liam Neeson does every physical task, and the other. It's almost like the artist guy is just almost like a pre-recorded machine or something. He can really only do his speeches and that.
Yeah, and like he feeds them, and I don't know if you noticed this, but as he feeds them the beans and everything, he doesn't wait for them to cool down, and he seems annoyed when he needs a minute to like chew them because they're so hot and everything. What
a dick.
He goes to the bathroom and he has to help him take care of that. There's just like everything, he's got to do for him. So after one of the performances, he sees this guy who has a chicken that can seemingly count. There's a bunch of little numbers, and people shout out stuff from the audience, different math problems like 11 plus 2 or whatever, and the chicken goes and pecks that the correct answer. And this is a wildly popular show and everything, and Liam Neeson ends up buying that chicken so that he can tour that one around. And this one ends in probably the bleakest ending of all of them, where we see Liam Neeson stop his coach after he's bought the chicken. He goes by this riverbed, he picks up a rock, he throws it in, and then he walks back to the wagon, and we cut away, and we see as he's going along that only the chicken is back there, and that the artist is gone, and obviously we know what happened there. My wife asked me when we were watching it, she's like, "Why do you think he did that with the rock?" And I said, probably to see if it was deep enough, see if the river was deep enough and fast enough, so that when he threw him there, like he knew he would drown and not just be embedded on the rocks and like almost like what he does is horrifyingly terrible, but but almost like as a mercy, I guess he tests it out, because he could have just thrown him off without testing it, and if it hadn't been deep enough, the guy just would have starved to death, because obviously with no arms or legs, he's not going anywhere.
Yeah, another thing that happened in this as well is Liam Neeson's character went to a prostitute.
Yep, that's right.
She was an African prostitute.
Her village was riddled with starvation. Selling her body was her only recourse.
Another reference. We're not making fun of prostitutes.
But yes.
Anyways, these whores.
So he does that, and she offers to. She asks if he wants to buy a round for his friend, and he declines.
Doesn't he turn him away though?
Yeah, he does. He turns him and that's the thing. He's got to bring him everywhere he goes, even to visit the prostitute, because he can't just leave him like in the wagon, because he can't defend himself. Someone could come and take him. Someone could come and kill him, or whatever.
Right. Here's a question too, though: is when he turns him away, is that a mercy or is it a way to infuriate him?
Ooh, that's an interesting question. I think it's more. I think it's just more. He doesn't want him watching him.
Yeah, he just doesn't want to look at his fucking face anymore.
Right.
So, I mean, really, it's arguable that this is all this guy can do. I mean, he doesn't, like you said, he doesn't really seem to do anything but repeat these speeches.
Yeah, he doesn't. He doesn't talk. He's got a great voice and everything. Um, but I think this one is the most about the entertainment industry. Obviously,
Yeah, there's clearly some metaphor for, like, the people who do the hard work and those who, just kind of sit and repeat, like, great work.
yeah, and I think that's part of it. And I think the other part of it too is that like Liam Neeson comes and he's got this guy, and the show that they put on is kind of sophisticated. It's these, great speeches, these beautiful poems, works of Shakespeare, and stuff like that. And that's popular for a little while, but what ends up being way more popular and way more long lasting is just mindless, dumb crap with
Yeah,
this.
that's another great point.
With this chicken, and I think they're kind of trying to say that like high art is just not appreciated like everything else. And if you compare the like box office returns of a Coen Brothers movie to that of say like a Marvel movie, I can
Yeah, yeah.
I can see their point there.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. The next segment is called All Gold Canyon.
Yes.
How did you feel about this one?
I liked this. Like this one I think the shortest one. It's not very long. It's Tom Waits, and it's basically a Tom Waits one man show. And I find him. I could see this one being the most boring for a lot of people. But there is something about Tom Waits that I just think is very charismatic, and I can't take my eyes off of him on the screen. Obviously, he's much more well known as a singer than an actor, although he has done acting. But he is just fascinating to watch, and I was really engrossed in watching him on the screen during this, and I think he is one that, and obviously we're in spoilers, but he's one that survives through. He's maybe the only like kind of major character that survives his story, and I think it's because this might be me reading a little bit too much into it, but it seems like he has a respect for nature. He says at one point to the gold pocket that he's looking for in this valley that he's old, but the gold pocket's older. And there's a part where he goes up to get some eggs from an owl, and the owl is just staring at him like literally staring. I don't know how they got that to like how they trained that owl, but like staring daggers at him like you bastard. And he ends up putting the eggs back, all but one, because he says how high can a bird count. So he really shows a lot of respect for nature.
You didn't see the previous segment, apparently.
Right. But I think that's I think that's why he ends up living in this, because somebody comes in, has obviously been watching him dig for this gold. As Tom Waits says, you watched me do all the work and then you shot me in the back. All pissed off, almost more pissed off at the fact that the guy watched him do the work instead of helping him and then shot him in the back. But he shoots him in the back, but he ends up not hitting anything. And there's a great scene of Tom Waits after Tom Waits gets the drop on this guy and ends up killing him, where he goes to the water and and cleans himself off from the blood and looks, and he just screams, and it's the most joyous scream that you can get. And it's the acting is phenomenal because it's just pure joy. And he's like, "You didn't hit anything important." And it's just great. But yeah, I like this one a lot, mostly because of Tom Waits. What did you think of this one?
Yeah, I actually couldn't disagree with you more on this one.
Really? You don't like this one at all, huh?
No, this was my least favorite of all the segments.
Okay.
I mean, Tom Waits is someone I only kind of know the name of. I know he's like a musician, and I've read Wikipedia articles about him, trying to figure out who I might know him from. I don't really know him. I really thought the cinematography in this was just amazing. This was probably the best of the whole thing. Like just like showing like the lush green fields as opposed to the stereotypical dried out like masonry and that sort of thing you'd see in a western. I mean, I understand that it's one character, so you have to have him speaking to himself, I suppose, to have dialogue. I don't think it's 100% necessary, but obviously, they want something. But I thought like especially after he shoots him, like the part where he's like screaming, like he didn't hit anything that counts. It's just doesn't seem like something that would ever happen in real life.
Right. Okay.
However, as far as detail goes, I actually noticed when the I don't know what the other bad guy's name is, the young guy that shoots him.
Yeah,
I noticed right when he shot him. I'm like, that's not, I realized that's not a vital area where he shot him. I mean, it's going to hurt like hell, but it wasn't like dead center of the back or anything. It could be a clean shot right through the shoulder without hitting any vital organs. It was high enough, which was kind of weird that it was like so specifically like accurate. I mean, he could certainly bleed dry or get an infection back in that time period, but I just thought that was kind of interesting that it was actually looked like a shot that he could have survived.
Yeah, that's a nice bit of continuity. Obviously, the Coen Brothers, they are good at paying attention to detail. But yeah, like I said, I can see what you're saying. Although I totally agree with you about the cinematography. Cinematography throughout the whole movie is great, and this is just gorgeous as well. But yeah, I can see why people would be a little bored with this. It helps that it's not a long segment, though.
Yeah, that's true. By the way, I just want to point something out too. The previous segment, I just meant to say this earlier, but I forgot. That would be like the perfect Twilight Zone episode, or even like a perfect Tales from the Dark Side type episode.
Yep, I agree.
It's like just long enough. It's dark enough. It's just like perfect like for that sort of thing.
Yeah, I agree. And I think originally they were talking about making this as a series, like a limited run 1 season anthology series, but they ended up turning it into, because apparently they've been writing these stories for about 25 years or so. And the only one that was actually written for the movie was the last one, which we'll get to in a minute.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing more of these, and like you said, some might be better than others, but I wouldn't mind seeing a few more like 20 to 30 minute long little vignettes from the Coen Brothers. But the next one is The Gal Who Got Rattled. This is the longest section. It's this one's hard for me because this is probably my least favorite. It's also the other one that I think could most be turned into a feature length film. It's the most romantic. It's almost kind of sweet in the way that things develop here. And I'll tell you one thing that they did really well is they had me going for a while thinking that this one was going to turn out all right. I don't know. I don't know why I thought that considering what came before it, but I don't know. Like, you kind of root for these two characters, and I really just thought like, okay, maybe this one will be, like Zoe Kazan is fantastic. As Alice Longbaugh, and Bill Heck is great as Billy Knapp in this, and they're clearly the two most important characters in this one. Going through this one real quick, basically, Zoe Kazan plays Alice Longbaugh, and her brother are going to Oregon on a wagon train, and her brother ends up dying from cholera. Not too long after they start, and she is in a bind because they were going to Oregon so that her brother could conduct this business, and the guy that he was doing the business with was supposed to marry Alice so she would have some kind of financial security. He promised the guy that was helping lead their wagon train, I think it was $400. which both Billy
Yeah,
Knapp,
$400.
and his partner who kind of run the wagon train say is a lot of money several times.
Yeah, I wonder what that would be adjusted for inflation. If I could have anything like on a TV show or movie, it would just have an inflation adjuster. So I'm like, oh wow, that is a lot of money, you know?
Right. Yeah, that's got to be a ton of money from back then. I don't even know if we could find that or not. I'll look in a minute. But anyways, and also she's kind of left with her brother's dog, who's a Jack Russell Terrier. Who anyone who's known Jack Russell Terriers barks a lot and is disturbing other people. And so she's got a bunch of these problems she doesn't know exactly how to deal with. She comes to Mr. Knapp, as she calls him, to kind of figure out, what to do. And he comes up with a solution eventually where he says that he could marry her. And because she points out that she doesn't know exactly if this business deal is gonna work out, because her brother was not the best businessman in the world, and everything like that. And so anyway, he says that he's getting to a point where he could retire basically, and that he would like to settle down. And there's another point where, and like I said, this is maybe like my least favorite one, but I do appreciate this acting moment where she goes, oh, and the way she said, she just elongates it and everything. She takes that word and just kind of really encapsulates all the surprise of the question. And she says that she'll have to think about it, and she eventually agrees. And you can see that they kind of, more than just a business arrangement or an understanding, or, hey, we're doing this because we both kind of want something out of it, but it's not romantic love or anything like that. But you can see a bond and a relationship start to form there. So, like I said, it's clearly the most romantic of these, and the sweetest of the stories, which kind of makes the ending of it just hurt even more. But what ends up happening is the dog, earlier she let the dog go. Well, she was going to have Mr. Knapp shoot it, but he missed, and the dog ran away. And the dog kind of followed the train and, was barking, and she could hear it. So she went out and got it. And she, got out, she left the wagon train to do it. And she's laughing, holding the thing. And the wagon master, who is not Mr. Knapp, his partner, the older one, he comes to find her. And there's Native Americans that are gathering in the distance because, they're going to try to kill them. And a fight ends up happening. The guy, I think Mr. Arthur is his name, he gets hit and pretends that he's dead, and then ends up killing the guy. And before any of this happened, he gave her a 2-shot pistol and tells her that if he's wounded and it looks like he's, things are going to go south, then he's going to take the gun and kill her and shoot himself. But if he gets killed, that she needs to shoot herself in the head, because, getting captured by the natives would be worse. They'd rape her, torture her, kill her, and stuff like that. So when he pretends to be dead, apparently she thinks that he was dead. And as he has dispatched the rest of the Indians and he comes to see her, she's shot herself in the head and died. So, yeah, what did you think of this one, Mike?
Yeah, this one, I could definitely, this was probably my second least favorite. It was the longest, and it kind of was showing that it was the longest at a certain point. It just felt like it was kind of dragging out.
Yeah.
I thought the dog, President Pierce was what they named it for some reason.
Right.
I thought that was going to be almost like a supernatural, he shot him and he came back sort of thing, but that's not how it played out. There's really, aside from the very first segment, there's not really anything supernatural in this, as far as I could tell. Well, with the possible exception of the last one.
Right.
But yeah, I thought it was all right, and I just felt it was a little quick that she shot herself. The guy pretended he was dead for 10 seconds, literally 10 seconds, and she just, all right, I'm out of this. you'd think she would like not be courageous enough to instantly shoot herself in the head.
Right. Yeah, I agree. It's a little, and I don't know if they're trying to make a point because they talk about a religion a lot in this one, more than they do in the other ones. Um, and I don't know if they're trying to make a point about like strict adherence to doctrine and stuff like that because she does exactly what he tells her to do, almost without thinking about it. And obviously she jumps the gun on that. And I don't know if they're trying to make a point in that way or not. I thought what was going to happen was I thought that Mr. Arthur was going to kill her. I thought that when he found her away from the wagon train, in order to keep Mr. Knapp with him, because Mr. Knapp mentions several times that he doesn't want to leave the old guy, because they've been working together for so long and they're a successful partnership and everything, but he does want to settle down and start to have kids. I thought that he was going to kill her in order to and make it look like an accident or something in order to keep Mr. Knapp. And I don't know. I mean, I think I almost would have liked that better, I guess. I mean, I think it would have fit pretty well would have fit better with the rest with the rest of the stories and kind of the cruelness of people to one another. But yeah, I feel like they were probably trying to make a point about indoctrination and following dogma to like a very strict degree.
Yeah, I could see that too. I mean, and the choreography with this was really like the battle between the Native Americans. That's the word I use for them. Injun or whatever it was you were saying earlier. And the old guy whose name I already forgot. That was really impressive. Like I actually was shocked when the horse rode up to him and surprised there was a Native American and behind it who swung over and like hit him with a tomahawk or whatever it was.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, it was really good choreography, but just like it was kind of, I don't know, it was not really my cup of tea, I guess, as far as like the story goes. I'm not a big romantic movie type fan, which would shock every person who listens to this. But I mean, it was getting kind of boring. And it was interesting that it took them forever to even say their first names. Like, oh, what's your Christian name? Like they literally didn't know it until like about halfway, or if not 3/4 of the way through the segment.
Mm-hmm. I think that's probably accurate to the time. I would say.
Yeah, I wouldn't be shocked. I just thought it was kind of interesting. And then, like I said, I thought there'd be something weird. I thought there'd definitely be something going on with that dog over there.
Yeah.
But that didn't seem to happen. So, yeah, it was okay. I mean, if I had to rewatch 2 or 3 of the 6 segments again, that wouldn't be on the list.
Yeah, I agree. So then we get to the final one, which is The Mortal Remains. Which is, as you pointed out, or as you said, and I agree with you, this might be my absolute favorite one. But it's definitely between the first and the last one.
Yeah, I think this is the best one for sure. I know you thought the Tom Waits one was. I mean, I can see that obviously not everyone has the same favorite one.
No, I said Meal Ticket might be the best one as far as.
You're right. My apologies.
Like objectively, from a filmmaking standpoint.
Yeah, that one is like that one's like almost perfectly done. Like it's super concise. There's not a wasted frame or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
This one, The Mortal Remains, this is my favorite for sure.
Yep.
I like this, but I like the very opening Ballad of Buster Scruggs. That one's just fun to watch. It's like almost, like I said, it's literally like watching a cartoon with light. I've never seen anything close to representing a cartoon, obviously very inappropriate for children cartoon
right.
In that segment. It's just like wow. You can almost see like his eyes bulging out. If he gets hit in the back of the head. That's how like cartoonish and perfectly done it was.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, in this one, The Mortal Remains, it's a group of, 5 people?
Yeah, 5 people.
Yeah, 5 people, 5 strangers. They're in search of an exit.
Right.
No, they're on a stagecoach going to Fort Morgan, I believe it's called.
That's correct.
2 of the men, a Englishman and a Irishman, if you can imagine such a thing. They seem to be traveling together, and they say they're often travel this route ferrying cargo, and they kind of reference a corpse that's wrapped up on top of the roof. They don't really go into why they're doing that, but so that's just kind of like their little piece. And then the trapper goes on and on about how he was with a Native American woman, and he's like, it's really odd, like it's really weird the way he describes it.
Mm-hmm.
It basically says they only communicated via facial expressions because he didn't even bother learning her language.
Yep. Yeah, and he lived with this woman too.
Yeah, and then he basically says they're just like animals. I think he kept saying ferret was the one he really,
Yep. He
used.
said people are just like ferrets.
And then there's an older woman on. Her name's Mrs. Betjeman, I think, something like that.
Yeah, played by Tyne Daly.
Yeah, I'm not sure who that is. She was very good, the actress who played her, or actor. Maybe that's the appropriate term these days. I don't know.
Who cares?
But she was really good. Yeah, I don't care. I'm just pretending, in case Hollywood comes calling. We know which politically correct when they're taking it as fair.
Right.
No, I'm kidding. But yeah, she's a really good actor, as I like to say. But then she's immediately, all up everyone's asshole about like, oh, my husband, blah blah blah. He's like this traveling lecturer who's into moral hygiene, not the way that Mark's into moral hygiene, but more like a religious betterment of yourself, almost like a self-help guru of the time.
Yep.
Do you think it's kind of interesting because out of the 6 stories, they have 2. I could be missing it. No, I think it's at least 2 that are just like almost like a traveling, traveling salesman / snake oil man / basically like almost like the stand-up comedian / entertainment of the day, which is just like a person that travels and like they used to, at least if the movie Tombstone is accurate, which I assume it is because it's a movie.
Mm-hmm.
They would go and put plays on it. It's obviously without the advent of television or the internet, that sort of thing, there'd be a lot of traveling like vaudevillian type things where they take these acts, and these are like weird acts like this. I mean, you're paying some guy to lecture on moral hygiene. I mean, that's obviously not everyone's cup of tea.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have the guy who can recite perfectly and with perfect tone of voice. Shakespeare and that sort of thing, which, today no one would watch either of those things whatsoever.
Right.
Unless Kirk Cameron was telling you about his moral hygiene and how you can't have Playboy actresses on set because it'll ruin your morals.
Right. Or like, Bible Man. Willie Ames.
Willie Ames.
Yeah.
Willie Ames seems okay, though. I don't know if he's really... I wouldn't be shocked if he just did that for the money.
Yeah, me either, actually.
Classic Buddy Lindbeck.
I
wonder if him and Scott Baio are still friends.
don't know.
Probably not. I'm sure we could probably get a hold of him and ask.
Yeah. I think if we ever did interviews, we could probably get Willie Ames.
Yeah. I'm sorry, I'm way off track now. But anyways, this Frenchman, as Frenchmen are prone to do, immediately starts just like shitting all over her. He's saying, oh, your husband, if he's this big charismatic guy, what does he want to do with you?
Right.
Because they've been separated for like a while, and he's like, she had lived with her daughter and her her son-in-law.
3 years.
And he's like, come on, they don't want you there. Do you think they really want? He's basically just like, undermining everything she has, and have like this big philosophical argument about and this actually kind of almost ties this segment to the first one, is the Frenchman very specifically goes into playing a hand of cards.
Yep.
That was dealt to someone else. Because I don't think we mentioned this, but in the very first one on Buster Scruggs, before he kicks that board and makes guys shoot himself in the head, he goes and picks up a game of cards where a guy's just leaving. Is that the same actor? I don't think it is, but he looks similar to him for some reason.
Oh, I'd have to go back and look at it again. I don't think so, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, I don't think so either. But anyways, but what Buster Scruggs picks up is the classic dead man's hand, aces and eights, and I don't know if the other card's a specific one or just aces and eights.
Just black aces and eights, yep.
Yeah, for the classic, which is what Wild Bill Hickok, supposedly had when he was killed, and that might be anachronistic because I imagine Wild Bill Hickok was actually after this.
Yeah.
Time frame wise, but regardless,
I don't know that story's true anyway.
Yeah, I don't know, probably not. But it's I think that's actually in the show. What's that? Deadwood. But I've never seen all of it. I heard it's good. I haven't seen it. But yeah, so he goes on and on about oh, you can't play someone else's hand. You might play it incorrectly and that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. And then the Irishman just busts into a bittersweet song, just regales the rest of the group, about how and then everyone just kind of calms down, and then his friend the Englishman just goes, I can't help but cry every time that happens. And then they just casually explain how they're bounty hunters and how they killed the person that's on top of the of the carriage, and that they just like he's like, oh yeah, this guy distracts them, and I go around and I just smash their heads in, and something about the travel, from this world to the next. I can't help but watch it. It's just so fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
And then that, I think, has led some people to believe that this actually whole thing is just a euphemism for like those two are like actually taking the three other passengers
Yep.
from the life to death. And then when they get to the hotel itself, like no one really wants to get off of it because they're bringing the corpse inside the hotel with them for some reason.
Yep.
And then they're just like cheerfully picking it up and just walking inside. And then no one wants to go. Like, oh, ladies first. She's like, oh, but someone has to help me down. So eventually the three remaining passengers get down and they go to the hotel. When they open the hotel, it just seems to be completely empty from what you can tell. And there's like a long, passageway with stairs. So yeah, I thought it was really interesting. I mean, especially just like, as we've said before, I'm a big sucker for like a philosophical argument, especially in a movie.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of that flying back and forth here. There's, the old, this person who doesn't expect anyone to be, she thinks she's beyond reproach, but then this Frenchman just takes her down a peg, and then just puts all this doubt in her eyes. And then like these other guys, oh yeah, we happen to be bounty hunters. It's like just like another wrench in there. It's just I thought it was really interesting because how complicated it was.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna have to watch it a few more times, obviously, before I finalize my decision. But when I first watched it, I was I was pretty convinced that these guys are the quote unquote ferrymen from the living world to the dead world. And the cinematography kind of bears all that out, with everything is very ethereal. It's very everything's kind of dark, and it just doesn't feel exactly real, especially when they get to the hotel and get out and everything. And like you said, they open the hotel doors and it looks desolate. It looks like no one's there besides them. And the coach, rides away and stuff. There's a point where she, Mrs. Benjamin, is having some sort of attack, and they want the coach to stop, and the two bounty hunters say, "Oh, he never stops. Like he's not going to stop."
Right.
And so all this stuff kind of leads me to believe that that's the intention is that these three have died, and they're having a very philosophical conversation about the nature of humanity and the nature of morals, whether people are animalistic and just like ferrets, as the trapper says, whether people are broken up into two groups, those who are moral and those who are immoral, like Mrs. Benjamin thinks, or whether it's complex. Every person is their own kind of individual, as the Frenchman suggests. And at first watching this, I said, I think that they're kind of being judged as wrong. Where they're going, I don't think is heaven. It's certainly not the type of heaven that we thought about in the Buster Scruggs one, as he's flying away like an angel, the more quote unquote traditional type of heaven. I don't think that's where they're headed. And it seems like they've been judged as wrong, as none of their answers are correct. So that's kind of the first, blush that I had on it. When I watched it the second time, I thought more to myself, I still think that it's they're going from life to death, but I don't know that they're necessarily being even judged yet. That this might be more of like a way station kind, not necessarily like a purgatory, but like a waiting place to be judged. That body that they're bringing throws me off every time, though, because it's like, is that just window dressing? Because if that guy's dead and this is the afterlife, he should now be animated like the rest of them. But as they're carrying him up the stairs, you see like a light, and it's not just like lamplight. It's an almost supernatural-ish type of light.
Sure.
So. Is that the judgment place? I don't know. So I need to watch this one a few more times to fully kind of get my head around exactly everything that I think that it is. But this is definitely, yeah, like you said, I'm. It's either the first one or this one, but this one really, and this one's very much Twilight Zoney or something like that. And I love those kind of stories. And this one really,
Oh yeah, yeah, that's for sure. This, I mean, really, you could say any of them could be like. I mean, some are obviously too short, like lengthwise, to actually be a episode of the Twilight Zone. But yeah, it's certainly any of these are. Some are better than others.
But I absolutely love this one. I loved the atmosphere of it. I loved the feel of it, the acting. It was outstanding and a great way to close it. And the other thing, too, I think, the Frenchman pauses at the door. The hotel doors are open. He looks back at the coachman who's riding away. He looks into the hotel where they're carrying this body. And there's a real decision point there. He decides, okay, I'm going into this hotel. Almost like deciding, okay, my mortal life is over and now I'm going into whatever's next, kind of thing. And he really like that. The acting of that small bit is so good because you really see the decision on his face, and it adds a lot of weight to what's going on.
Oh yeah, I mean the acting in this throughout the entire thing, it's good. Even though like I said, the dialogue and the gold miner one I thought was kind of ridiculous. I mean, it was just like it was almost similar in a sense to Dirty Work when they're describing what happens off camera.
Right. Okay, I
It's
can
like
see
so
that.
I mean, it's just so specifically like why would you describe to say out loud to no one at that point?
Right.
Like it just to me it just seems ridiculous, but. As opposed to Dirty Work, which was probably one of the funniest things I've ever seen in my whole life at a movie theater.
Now he's grabbed the chainsaw and he's killing me with it. That is awesome.
Yeah, but this, I mean, it just kind of seems similar, but it's like, yeah, I'm not, in this weird bubble of disbelief that Norm and Artie have sucked me into. So it's like, I don't understand why we do that.
Right. Oh, yeah, I get that. But yeah,
Because he was just so specific. He's like, I was shot, but I wasn't shot in a vital area, so I'm still alive.
yeah, okay, I can see that. I can definitely see that.
Oh, so you're a medical doctor out there digging holes by a river?
Right. Like you said, I mean, I thought of this the second time I watched it. I was like, he could still easily die. Like, even if he makes it to a town, the medicine of the time could easily kill him. It's like
yeah, for
they're
sure.
they're not going to check for infection or anything. Like they're going to go rooting around there with their own hands and end up giving him an infection.
Yeah.
But
It's like whenever I watch like Game of Thrones, you said you don't watch that, right?
not yet, no.
You should probably start watching that.
Yeah, no, I got to catch up to you.
But every time I watch it, I'm always like, whenever someone gets hit with like a blade, I'm like, oh, they're dead. I mean, yeah, they run off, but they're going to surely get an infection and die.
Right?
I always wonder, like, when's the last time that guy took a bath? He's been out in the woods for 2 weeks, wearing heavy, leather armor. I don't think you would have trouble smelling him coming.
Right. But yeah, overall, I we don't really do ratings here, as listeners know. But I definitely think it's worth checking out for anybody. I would recommend it to anybody. There are going to be stories that you like more than other stories. But I think what's good in this is really good. And what's bad is not horrific. It's not super terrible.
Not. You don't. I mean, again, I'm judging it by standards of Coen movies, not like fucking dumbass Marvel movies that
Right. Like a chicken doing math.
Yeah, not like I know you like even though you said we don't really rate things in here on a scale of 1 to 10, I'd probably give this like an 8, maybe like an 8 in 8.2, not quite an 8.5. I mean, overall the consistency is. I mean, the ones I don't like, I really don't like.
Right.
But I mean, they're still like 7s. They're not like 3s or anything.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think that's definitely fair. It's like you said, if we're judging it as a Coen Brothers film, there's going to be a lot of movies that are above it because the Coen Brothers have done a lot of great movies. But if
They worked on Evil Dead.
no, I didn't know that. I knew they knew
Yeah.
Sam Raimi, but I didn't know that they worked on that.
Yeah, I don't know if it's uncredited or not, but they did I think they did editing on the first Evil Dead movie.
Okay, that makes sense. But yeah, because I know they've done some things together. After that. But they're outstanding. I love them, and we should definitely, we've done Kevin Smith. We should do Quentin Tarantino, and we should do the Coen
Adam
Brothers.
Sandler.
Adam Sandler's made a lot of movies. I don't know if I want to watch all of them.
Yeah, I don't think I want to watch most of them.
Ugh.
Another director I really don't want to watch any movies of is Rob Zombie.
Oh God, yes, I agree
I
with
could
you.
go on for an hour about how much I hate Rob Zombie's movies.
So terrible. Oh, the Halloween remakes alone. Ugh.
At least he's got his wife in all of them. She's a great actress.
Right? Yeah. Yeah, like you can have your wife in the movies, have her take her top off and stuff. It's great. Oh God, Rob Zombie. Rob Zombie should not be making films.
I wish he would stop making terrible movies and go back to his true love, making terrible music.
Yep. Exactly. Yeah, I haven't liked anything Rob Zombie has done, but, I guess in fairness, he probably hasn't liked anything we've done.
I don't know, we put a fucking Looney Tune character in there, you probably like it.
That's true.
Or we say fuck a lot, because he seems to enjoy that.
Maybe if we had 15,000 pumpkins in our podcast, we wouldn't even have to say anything. Just he would know they were there.
Maybe we should do a terrible remake of a classic horror film.
Oh, God.
Oh, that's awesome, guys.
Well,
that's what he would say.
That is our episode for today. A little bit longer one than normal, but that's okay. You guys can deal with it.
Quantity, not quality.
That's right. We're putting out hours here, guys. Multiple hours for you to listen to.
If you have any cruel stories of Dave Coulier, since we're in the Metro Detroit area, go ahead and send them in.
Absolutely. I will take any Dave Coulier story that you have.
We call this segment, though, Grave Coulier, so we can include disastrous encounters with them or just morbid things he said.
Right. Send those to massivelatefee@gmail.com if you have any stories. If you have anything else you want to say, you want to write us a letter or whatever, I haven't checked it in a long time. I don't know if anyone sent anything, but I will check it, I promise, before the next episode.
If you want to write us a letter, scan it and then email it to us.
Yeah, that's true. Email us at massivelatefee@gmail.com. If you're looking for us on Twitter, you can find us at Massive Late Fee on Facebook, our Patreon if you want to support the show and donate $1 or something like that. Any amount of money that you won't mind losing for almost
You're just going to waste. What are you going to do with that money anyways? Huh?
That's true. That's true. You know that you've got $1 that you can spare. So you can go to our panhandling site, Patreon at massivelatefee.com. And I'll link all this below, obviously. You can find our audio commentaries on our Patreon, and you can also find them at bandcamp.com.
Expect a future contest to have a cross-country road trip with that guy we were talking about earlier, whose name I forget.
Which one? Oh, Ernest Cline?
Yes.
There you go. How many pop culture references can you make in a cross-country road trip with Ernest Cline? Oh, but
Illinois. I remember Illinois. Let's go stop by Sherman, Illinois.
And what else? What else do we do? You can find us our Patreon, our Bandcamp, email, Twitter. Oh, we're having a contest too. So for those of you who don't know, we're giving away a $100 Amazon gift card to one lucky winner on January 10th. You can find details on our Twitter at Massive Late Fee, and you can find out how to enter there. There's a tweet that I'm gonna retweet that soon too, to get more people in the know about it. But that is our show for tonight. Next week we will talk about something else fun. I'm not sure exactly what yet, although I have a couple ideas I need to run by Mike before I announce anything, because that's how it goes. I don't ambush my co-host here. But anyway, so have a great night, everybody. We'll see you next time. Bye.
See you next time. BJ's rules.